There are moments in life that etch themselves into your memory. Not because of joy, but because of the way your heart fractures when the truth finally breaks through. For me, that moment came under soft golden lights, surrounded by the people who thought they were witnessing love being reborn. It was our 10-year vow renewal ceremony. Friends, family, even our pastor, all gathered to celebrate what they believed was an unshakable marriage. My wife, Emily, looked radiant in her ivory dress, her smile practiced and polite. We'd been through storms, financial struggles, health scares, and months of counseling after I discovered her flirtatious messages with her ex, Ryan. She swore it was harmless. I chose to believe her. Maybe because I wanted to, or maybe because I was too tired to fight. This vow renewal was supposed to be a new chapter, a clean slate. I wanted to believe in us again. When it was her turn to speak, Emily took a deep breath. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the microphone. "Nathan," she began, voice smooth but distant. "You've always been dependable, reliable, the kind of man every woman knows will never leave." People smiled warmly, thinking it was praise. But something in her tone made my stomach tighten. She continued, "I know I haven't always appreciated you the way I should have. You weren't safe. Maybe too safe. You were there when others weren't. When Ryan left, you stepped in, and I thought, why not? He was gone and you were good." There were nervous chuckles from the crowd, people assuming she was joking. But she wasn't. I could tell by the glassiness in her eyes, the tremor in her voice. Then came the words that silenced the room. "Sometimes I wonder what life would have been like if I'd married Ryan instead. Maybe I would have been happier. But life doesn't always give us what we want, right? You were my backup plan, Nathan. And maybe that's not such a bad thing." The air left the room. My mother gasped. The pastor looked down at his notes. Even Emily's maid of honor shifted uncomfortably. I stood there, every muscle in my body stiff, the smile on my face frozen in place. In that instant, something inside me shattered, not loudly, but cleanly, like glass under pressure finally cracking. I didn't lash out. I didn't storm off. Instead, I looked her in the eyes and said softly, "Thank you for your honesty." The room fell into stunned silence. Emily blinked, as if realizing too late what she had just confessed in front of everyone we knew. Her smile faltered and she stammered, "Nathan, I didn't mean it like that." But I raised my hand gently to stop her. "No, Emily," I said, my voice calm, even steady. "You meant every word. And it's okay. I needed to hear it." A few murmurs rippled through the audience. My best friend Michael shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I could feel the pastor's eyes on me, waiting for me to collapse, to react, to create a scene. But that wasn't going to happen. Because right then, in that moment of public humiliation, I finally saw our marriage for what it was. Not a partnership, but a performance. I had been playing a role in her story, not living one of my own. I smiled faintly and turned to the guests. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, keeping my tone polite, almost detached. "Thank you all for being here tonight. It means a lot to celebrate clarity." A few confused chuckles broke the tension. Emily's eyes filled with panic. "Nathan, please," she whispered, clutching my arm. "Don't do this here." I looked at her hand, then at her face, the woman I had loved, forgiven, built a life with. "You know," I said quietly enough for only her to hear, "for years, I kept thinking you'd wake up one day and realize I was enough. That the man who stayed when others walked away might be worth loving back. But now I understand. I was never your choice. I was just your consolation prize." Her grip loosened. The silence around us grew heavy, as if the world itself was holding its breath. I turned to the pastor and said, "I think that concludes our vows." Then I handed him the microphone and walked off the small stage, my footsteps echoing in the stunned quiet of the hall. People watched in disbelief, some whispering, some shaking their heads. Outside, the evening air hit me like a wave of freedom. I loosened my tie, inhaled deeply, and felt something I hadn't felt in years, peace. Inside that hall, Emily was still talking, trying to smooth over the damage, spinning her words into excuses. But I didn't care anymore. For once, I wasn't the man trying to fix what someone else had broken. I was done being her safety net, her backup plan. By the time I reached the parking lot, My phone was already buzzing, her calls, her texts, one after another. Please come back inside. You're overreacting. Let's talk. But I'd heard enough talk over the years. Promises that faded. Apologies that sounded rehearsed. Every word had become white noise. I got into my car, but I didn't start it right away. Instead, I stared at the reflection in the rearview mirror. The man who had once built his life around someone else's happiness. The man who thought loyalty alone could earn love. That version of me died tonight. What replaced him was quieter, but stronger. A man who finally knew his worth. The next morning, I didn't return home. I went to the office instead. The papers I had prepared months ago. My attorney had drafted them after Emily's suspicious late nights, her constant comparisons to her ex, her emotional distance. I never planned to use them. Until last night. I emailed my lawyer one line. Proceed with everything we discussed. By noon, Emily was calling again. This time her tone had changed. The arrogance was gone. Panic had taken its place. Nathan, I was emotional. I didn't mean it. You know how I get under pressure. Let's just forget it happened. I replied simply, I already have. What she didn't know was that months earlier, when she insisted on revising our prenup, to make it fairer, as she called it, she had unknowingly signed the terms that would cost her everything if she ever admitted to emotional infidelity or humiliation in public. My lawyer had been thorough. Her words at the vow renewal had just sealed it. A week later, when the divorce papers arrived, she came to my office in tears. You can't do this, Nathan. We have memories, a life. I looked up from my desk. Memories don't make a marriage, Emily. Choices do. And yours were loud and clear. She sobbed, but it felt distant, like watching rain fall on someone else's window. I had no hate left, just relief. When she walked out of my life, carrying nothing but regret, I didn't gloat or look back. Because revenge wasn't the point. Closure was. That night, I stood on my balcony, the city lights glowing below. I thought about the man I had been, the backup plan in someone else's story, and smiled. Because now, I was finally writing my own.